When you're young, you think Grandma will always be there, sitting in her favorite chair telling stories. Stories that don't just pass the time, but shape who you are. Maybe it's about the days when milk was just a few cents, or how she and Grandpa built a life with nothing but hard work and faith. You laugh at her old-fashioned sayings. You roll your eyes when she tells the same story for the 10th time. But deep down, you feel safe because her presence is steady. She's your Sunday dinner, your Christmas morning, your comfort on a bad day. You think that chair by the window will always be filled. You think she'll always be waiting with cookies in the oven and arms wide open. But time doesn't wait for anyone. One day you realize the chair looks older, the hands that once braided your hair are weaker, and the stories, well, they aren't told quite as often anymore. And in that moment, you begin to understand something no one ever tells you when you're young. Grandma won't be here forever. After Grandpa passed, her house grew quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that almost hums in your ears, like the walls themselves are grieving. She still kept her routines, still brewed her morning coffee, still hummed the hymns she loved. But the laughter that once echoed through those rooms was gone. On Sundays, she still cooked dinner, just like always. Pot roast, biscuits, sweet tea. She set the table carefully, each plate in its place, napkins folded just the way she liked. She even put out Grandpa's chair for a while, because in her heart, he was still part of the meal. The food was ready, the candles were lit, but more and more often, the seats stayed empty. Family said they were busy. They promised to come next time. So she sat there with her hands folded, whispering grace over a table meant for many, and eating alone. She never complained, not about her aching joints, the ones that throbbed every time it rained. She would smile, rub her knees gently, and brush it off like it was nothing. That's what she did with everything. She carried her pain quietly, never wanting anyone else to feel it. Not about the loneliness either. The long evenings when the only voices in the house came from the television. The phone didn't ring much anymore, and when it did, she'd answer with such joy you'd think she'd won the lottery, just to hear a familiar voice on the other end. But when the call ended, the silence always came back, and not even when she nearly fell. She caught herself on the stair rail that day, heart pounding, hands trembling. But when her daughter asked how she was doing, she only laughed softly and said, "Oh, I'm fine, sweetheart," because that's how grandmas are. They don't want to burden anyone. They don't want to be the reason you worry. They'd rather suffer in silence than let you see their weakness. Grandmas carry their pain quietly, and often we don't notice until it's too late. One Sunday, she waited by the window, cookies fresh from the oven, still warm on the table, her chair pulled close to the door so she wouldn't miss the sound of a car pulling in the driveway. She checked the clock, straightened the cushions, and peeked through the curtains more times than she could count. She'd even put on her best sweater, the one her granddaughter once said made her look pretty, because today was supposed to be special. Today, they promised they'd come, but the hours passed. Afternoon turned into evening. The sun slipped behind the trees, and still, the knock never came. The cookies cooled untouched, the house grew darker, and the silence in those walls grew heavier than ever before. She whispered a little prayer, telling herself maybe next Sunday would be different. But in her heart, she knew what hurt the most wasn't the empty table. It was the feeling of being forgotten by the very people she loved most. Behind every wrinkle is a story. Not just a story of age, but of endurance. Each line on her face is a chapter of sleepless nights rocking babies to sleep, of days spent working without rest, of years holding a family together with nothing but love and determination. Behind every smile is sacrifice. The smile you see today hides the moments she went without so her children could have more. The time she set aside her dreams so yours could come true. It hides the worries she carried alone, and the strength it took to keep moving forward when life wasn't easy. And yet, too often we forget. We rush through our busy lives, chasing things that don't last, and we overlook the very people who once gave us everything. The hugs, the meals, the lessons, the unconditional love, pieces of themselves they poured into us. Grandmas are the quiet heroes of our families, but sometimes we don't realize it until all we have left are the stories they leave behind. She doesn't need grand gestures. She's not asking for expensive gifts or elaborate plans. What she longs for is something so much simpler, yet far more precious. Just a call to hear your voice, a visit to sit beside her, even if you don't say much at all. A hug, the kind that reminds her she's still loved, still needed, still part of your world. 5 minutes of your time could mean the world to her. 5 minutes to listen to a story she's already told you a dozen times. 5 minutes to share a cup of tea at the kitchen table. 5 minutes to let her know she's not forgotten. Because to you, 5 minutes might feel small, but to her, it's a reminder of a lifetime she spent loving you. It's proof that all the sacrifices she made, all the nights she stayed up worrying, all the years she gave, still matter. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give Grandma isn't bought. It isn't wrapped. It's simply showing up. Don't wait until the chair is empty, because once it is, no amount of calls, no amount of flowers, no amount of "I wish I had" will ever bring her back. That chair, the one by the window, the one that's held decades of laughter, tears, and stories, won't always be filled. One day it will be just a chair, and you'll walk past it wishing for one more hug, one more Sunday dinner, one more chance to hear her say your name. Love Love your grandma today. Not tomorrow, not next weekend, not when life slows down. Today. Call her while she can still answer. Sit with her while she can still smile back. Hold her hand while it's still reaching for yours. Because love doesn't need perfect timing or grand gestures. It needs presence. It needs action. It needs you now. Don't wait until the chair is empty. Love your grandma while you still can. Call her, visit her, love her.